Hello and welcome into SDF with Laird. I am Andrew Laird, joined today on a Tuesday again by PSU fans to talk about what comes next because the Super Bowl is over. Sean, welcome to the NFL offseason. The hell do we do now?
Yeah, what a terrible Super Bowl. That was not enjoyable to watch. I'm a big proponent of I just want offense. I don't mind good defensive plays and things happening, but if I just watch a team just get suffocated for effectively the entire game until the last 5 minutes, that's just not what I'm interested in. And it was funny because watching that, there are certain games you can get in football where you're just like, yeah, this ain't gonna be good. And I think after two drives, I was like, ooh, this is not going to be a great game. And it was not a great game. So that was unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Drake May looked like, so they kept talking about how he could be the youngest player to win youngest quarterback to win the Super Bowl. Like he looked like a guy who was too young to be in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did. And to be fair, which was funny, he almost ended up like the best player in the game.
Yeah.
Which that's not abnormal in football. A lot of times you'll get a player that is just sort of behind, and because they're behind by so much, they are just sort of locked in for a decent game unless they get benched or injured, which isn't going to happen in that situation. And sure enough, I think he needed an extra 10 yards passing or something on the last drive, and he would have been the top player fantasy wise in the game, because the second and third best players in the game fantasy wise, or honestly maybe I don't think they beat May or Walker, but was the kicker for Seattle and the defense for Seattle, if you're looking at full fantasy and not just FDF wise. But yeah, not awesome.
I think that whole situation brought up the obvious question of when are we getting kickers in football in NFL.Fun?
Yeah, didn't bring up that question at all to me. So that's
the highest scoring player in the game, man. We can't just keep ignoring these guys. Come on.
Didn't win. I don't ignore them. I actively choose not to care about them.
Sean, we didn't have the top scoring player in the Super Bowl. We didn't have the quarterback of the team that won. We didn't have the MVP. What are we doing?
We had the top scoring fantasy player in the Super Bowl. That's what we care about. We don't care about the actual on-field results. We care about, I
suppose, we don't really care about that. It is funny that you kind of brought that up, that from the fantasy perspective, usually we want guys who we don't care if they win or lose, but if they're behind, early, it's sweet, we're just going to throw all game. And so that's the offense that comes. I would say 85% of that game was just horrific from a casual standpoint. I don't want to say I'm a casual because I absolutely hate the Patriots. So I was all in on the Seahawks.
Yes,
my boy Sam Darnold. But yeah, that game was brutal. And we were chatting during the game, and obviously I was making my emotional hedge bets at New England plus 2,000 or whatever it was, just to make sure that the Seahawks got over the line. How were you, was there any result from the Sport.Fun perspective that was surprising? We obviously knew there were only a handful of players that were playing anyway, but yeah, were you expecting anything more?
I didn't expect Travion Henderson to finish third of the FDF players that were on the platform, but he did. It wasn't by him doing tons, but I wasn't expecting that. So that was mildly surprising. I thought the mini game we designed for the Super Bowl was pretty nice. What did you think about that?
It was, I liked, I put my lineup in probably a week or whenever it came out. I guess it was only a couple days, but I put it together on the first day. And then on the day of maybe an hour or two before the Super Bowl, I took Drake May out and I was like, let me just go all in here on that. And I think the fact that yes, it had an effect on I could win something. It just didn't feel like it was big enough for me to care. I hate to say it that way, but I just didn't care enough. And based on Adam's kind of article today, a picks game is going to be important in the future. So maybe I should have taken it a little more seriously. I don't know, but I agree with Jimmer. The mini game would have been nice if there had kickers in it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Probably for the mini game, I should have added kickers. So in the future, maybe I will add kickers and defenses in that sort of aspect. But I think this version of it was just a Super Bowl version of it, where there's one game, a day where there's 32 teams playing. You don't need kickers and defenses in it realistically. But yeah, I thought it worked pretty well. My main concern was making sure that one, people didn't just run the same lineup, and I didn't see. I'm sure there are some people out there that have the same lineup, right? Like obviously there were going to be duplicates because there's only so many realistic ways you want to make a lineup. But like in all our chats, everybody was wildly different with their lineups, and that was kind of the intention of what to do. So I think it worked pretty well from that. And if you had takes, like I know Jimmer had a take, and that was that Jackson Smith and Jigba was going to suck in the Super Bowl. And if you had that take, and if you went with that in the mini game, you probably did pretty well in the mini game, because odds are that you didn't place Jackson Smith and Jigba, and all four of the other higher priced players that you realistically would have played 2 or 3 of, if you didn't play Jackson Smith and Jigba, all smashed him. And if you played any of those 3s, you probably did at least okay. And especially if you did Walker and Drake May, like there's pretty much no chance you didn't do well.
Yeah, I think it was definitely fun, and I liked the kind of salary cap aspect of it, as opposed to just like, hey, pick the top guys that you want. I think I just went into it more with the large field DFS mentality of like, hey, let's make something that's different, and so then if I win, like I'll beat thousands, however many people that ended up playing.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like. I think I was more like lineup construction, if we want to call it that, was more important than like who I thought was going to score the most. Because like in one game, like anything can happen.
Well, the way I built it out was so that everyone was effectively valued as the same. So realistically speaking, if you spent $100 in salary cap, projection wise, you probably would have ended up with a lineup that was within a point of any other lineup. Now, if you left salary on the table, you would have had lineups that were projected for less. But realistically, every dollar that was spent on the salary cap was effectively tied to a projected point total that a player would have. So realistically, the way that you needed to think about it was, this is kind of like how many dollars are there via an expected total from a projection standpoint, which I think was somewhere around like 0.45 points per point was like the value something. So you basically had to be like, all right, is Jackson Smith and Jigba expected to, maybe it was more, I'd have to think about it. I'd have to go back and look at it. But like you'd have to, I think I changed it. At one point it was a different number. It was originally like 0.45, and then we altered the game a little bit from what we were going to do to make sure that it functioned in the way that we wanted it to. And it changed. But anyways, like, so the idea is basically like, are they going to like outscore what you would expect them to score?
Yeah.
And if the number for Jackson Smith and Jigba was 20, and you expected him to outscore 20 points, picking him might make sense. If you think he is going to score under it, it would have made sense to not play him. And obviously that's how it played out. Like, you played Jackson Smith and Jigba, you likely did pretty poor in that game. And if you did not play him, you likely did pretty well, because the way that the cap worked was, it was tight enough that you had to make some sacrifices. You couldn't just play all the best players, but loose enough that you could play a few of the better players with some guys that still had a pulse in the game.
Yeah. Looking back in my lineup, it effectively made no sense, mostly because I ended up basically 3-3, like per team. And I faded Smith and Jigba, and I was like, all right, here we go. I had Walker, Darnold, and Kupp, and I was like, that seems reasonable. And then I think I don't remember who else I must have had, because when I had May, obviously I wasn't going to be able to have everyone else. But it ended up basically with 3 New England pass catchers, and it's like, if they do well enough, then May has to do well enough.
Correct.
And I probably have to have May. But like Hollins was nowhere near me. Stevenson, I was like, well, Stevenson made more sense given that I played Walker too, so maybe not. But like, just looking back, and I was just like, yeah, this lineup, it looked like a lineup I didn't spend much time on. And then of course I was like, oh, I don't care. And then when I finish 401st, and I'm like, I wish I cared a little bit more.
Yeah. So, like I finished terrible, because I did play Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I wish I didn't, because it definitely mattered. Like, I would have loved to finish in the top like 10% and get the high end TP bonus. Cause like for me, the TP bonus is pretty substantial, because I have a decent sized overall holding. So like me getting an extra percent, it would have been great. So
did you see how much you got?
I did see that, and that is good. I'm glad that the bonus TP is out for the Super Bowl. I knew it was coming soon, but I'm glad that it's out.
I got
so like, for example, like, I went into it. I'm like, I don't care that much. And then I'm like, okay, I care more. And then I was like, and then, it was pretty much like, I'm like, I don't care at all. And then I'm like, yeah, well, you know how it is. Like, you just tweak, and then you're just like, all right, I care a little bit, I guess. But
right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, as the person who designed the game, I know that every lineup I make is effectively projected for the same amount of points, and therefore, you basically just you had to have player takes, and you had to have a take of like who's going to do well.
Yep.
Which, I mean, granted, obviously that sounds kind of dumb because that's generally
but all you got to do is make a lineup.
Like, I thought the best player in the mini game, which actually was one of the better players in the mini game, was Travion Henderson. Because once you got to the lower dollar values, like those guys, like if they get like a point or two, you're pretty happy with. And Henderson was the one guy that I kind of felt he was being projected as if he was just not going to play at all again, like the game in Denver. But I kind of feel like the game in Denver, he was specifically just not used much because it was just like a shitty weather, just slugfest where they just didn't want to use him much. They weren't really moving the ball well, so they wanted Stevenson, who's more of the power back. So I thought there was more upside with Henderson, and the downside at his price of the 5 points or whatever was very minimal. So he was the one guy I was like, I really want to have him in the lineup. And then I just moved stuff around, and I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And even taking him eventually leads you, like, when you spend that much on one player, like it leads you down a path for other players. So like maybe you do end up on Hollins because he's a lot cheaper as opposed to being dumb like me and picking Hunter Henry.
Correct.
Man, big regrets. I got 449.01 TP from the Super Bowl.
How much?
449.
Okay.
Which is like never an amount that I would ever rip a pack on, but should we just rip a pack?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, why not?
I got 5,041. And I really wish I did better in the Super Bowl mini game because that would have been a lot higher.
Not 5,000 from the mini game.
No. If I got 0 from the mini game, I really
literally 0.
I really wished I finished in like the top 10%, so I got a good chunk of bonus.
Gotcha. I am gonna just point out for anybody watching that this is available as well.
I was able to break that news to Laird.
Yeah, thank you again for that. But the thing is, I don't know how far my decimal places go until I just scroll all the way over.
Yeah, that is very valid.
So like just a max button would be helpful.
Yes.
Anyway, let's see. It
would be funny if you got one of these special packs right now. The worst part about the special packs, we tested it internally, and I was the king of pulling the special packs internally, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well.
Not good, yeah.
So like we did in our test environment, and I think I pulled like 3 special packs out of like 20 packs that I was testing, and I was like, oh man. And sure enough, like I have yet to pull a special pack in like 30 packs on the actual market. I'm like, checks out.
This first one just makes me want to reveal them all because I don't want to have to go through 8 more with Jordan Love as the first one.
Well, yeah, the nice thing is when there's no specific order, so at the end you could get like the best player. I had a pack the other day that was terrible. My last player was like Josh Allen. Yeah, like it's always nice. Okay, Laird's over. Probably a good pack to do that on. Not awesome pack, but not the worst. I mean, McCaffrey does save it quite nicely.
So what's nice about this pack is that it includes only 2 players that I would ever buy.
Justin Jefferson and McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did buy some Metcalf recently, like somewhat recently.
Yeah, I mean, buying a player for different purposes due to I think what you more so mean is like 2 players that like you actually want to have.
Yeah, like I would buy those guys.
Yeah.
So I like packing those guys because it's like, I don't have, not that I was going to buy $5 worth of McCaffrey, but it's nice to have it.
Yeah. Jefferson, it's a bit tricky right now with the mechanics that are in place because like, do you take Olave because he's worth more, or do you take Jefferson? And then vice versa. Like, do you take like a Love and then you can't really like sell him into Jefferson because you wouldn't get the offseason TP. Whereas if you just keep the player you pack, you do get the offseason TP. Similarly, like Jefferson's offseason TP sucks. So like, does that change your opinion on whether or not you keep Jefferson? So at least there's some interesting decision points to make. It's not just straightforward of like, oh, I'm going to pick the best player every time.
Yeah. I mean, like literally the difference between Jefferson and Olave is what, 23 cents?
Yeah, it's not much. So it's like in that situation, I probably pick the player that I would rather keep, because obviously
Right.
once you pay fees, like you would end up paying more to trade Olave into Jefferson anyways.
Right. But thankfully I get 3 of them.
True.
So I don't have to take Jordan Love.
Look at you just skipping out Jordan Love.
Yeah. Well, somebody told me once that he's the worst one.
I wouldn't say he's the worst one, but he's definitely like, he's the one that definitely sticks out as, at least this past season, was you want him to get injured. But all the other quarterbacks, you did not want to get injured. Jordan Love, you wanted him to get hurt because it would have definitely been more helpful if Jordan Love got hurt.
So I actually passed on Love, but got basically a $12 pack from a free mini game.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We love to see it.
You do love to see it.
Do we dare look at what the market's doing?
The market's been one person who has effectively sold a decent chunk over the last few days, because there's really not anyone else selling, which makes sense because you are heavily incentivized not to sell once the Super Bowl was played, because you are heavily rewarded with that. And if you wanted to sell, like selling in the beforehand time made way more sense than waiting till today. So the market is down, but it's like pretty much one person exiting to some extent. And for that reason, I'm not that concerned for it. And again, we've sort of talked about it off to the side. If I can just sit there and stack in the off season, and someone else is selling to make my stacks bigger and bigger and bigger, that is not the end of the world to me. We had a lot of discussion in the Discord today, so I'll at least discuss that. So people are basically complaining that there is no buy pressure currently with NFL. And like, I know you were part of a conversation in a separate Discord about it. So the idea behind it right now is it's really hard in the off season that is, what, 6 months long, 7 months long. It's really hard to put in a natural buy pressure. So when we're looking at how to design the off season, it was, okay, do we do nothing with the snapshots and just like let people move in and out? But what happens in that situation is people will sell because there's no negative to selling, and there's still really no buy incentive. The only buy incentive comes in the situation of like, okay, this guy's priced way too cheap. I make more money by buying into him instead of like sitting on the sidelines without doing it. But like, that kind of is what happened anyways with the Super Bowl. You could sort of have an understanding of, this is what I can expect. And also people will sell as the offseason goes. So like, in theory, you're getting more percentages of the rewards as the offseason goes, possibly as well, if people are selling. So there was the idea of like, the way that we did it was sort of to help the sell pressure. We couldn't really do great things with sell pressure and buy pressure. And to us, we want to reward people that are more willing to hold via long-term breaks and stuff. The people that you don't necessarily want are people that come in and they're like, all right, it's way too good not to be buying now. I'm going to buy, and then they'll sell the market off as soon as it gets up to a point where I'm making money. And then they just dump it all off. Whereas it makes a lot more sense to be like, okay, these are the users that are really actually interested in the game. Them being able to snowball a little bit and generate nice rewards because they were willing to hold and were there is more of a positive. We did obviously have the delayed TP that was in place for the offseason. We did scrap that because we felt that it was relatively boring and not interesting way of doing things. And we didn't think it would really help that much buying anyways. So we will be coming out over the course of the offseason with a different system in place that does incentivize buying. I gave the example in Discord today that possibly we'll do a dinner with Rick's, and if you buy in at that time, you also are eligible for that. And it's not just for people that are holding through the offseason, because the people that are holding through the offseason, they are getting their reward, and their primary reward is the TP that they get for holding in the offseason. Now, that said, they will also participate in the stuff that we open up to like other things as well. So again, I'll give hypotheticals because it's not set in stone as of this exact second. And I don't want people coming back and being like, oh, you said this at this one time, yada, yada, yada. So hypothetically, let's say we launch a few new players to start next season, and Malik Neighbors is in there. So all of a sudden it's like, hey, if you want access to Malik Neighbors, the only people that are getting access to Malik Neighbors are people that are holding players as of now. and holding through the time in which we release Malik Neighbors. So like hypothetically, let's say we release Malik Neighbors in July, and I think we would both agree, like you'd probably agree Malik Neighbors is a top 5 receiver in the league, right? Give or take.
He should be in the game, yeah.
Yeah, like he's someone that should be in the game. He makes sense in the game. So all of a sudden we are like, hey, if you are someone that is holding through the offseason or someone that is buying in right now, instead of doing founders packs and drops in which we've done in the past, maybe it's a situation where it's like, hey, if you are holding and or bought in by this date and hold till through the date in which we release this player, you have access to buying that player and no one else does. There's stuff like that that we are having as ideas in order to incentivize buying during the off season. Also, there is still a buy pressure in the off season. The buy pressure is this the lowest price point in which we're going to get? I think at least we doing the show agree that is what point is the lowest point in which the market will be at. Because if the market is at 3.87 million market cap right now, and when the season starts, it's at 14 million. Well, then if you didn't buy now, like you're probably like, shit, I wish I bought at that point too. Now, that said, obviously you're not getting rewards, and a lot of the people that would have done that would have already bought in. But in theory, a lot of the people that are holding at this current point are not going to be looking to sell over the upcoming months, because if they were doing that, they would have likely done it before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Neighbors kind of example made me think, like, isn't that what the Fun token was supposed to do, though?
It will kind of be merged into different aspects of things. But the idea with the Fun token is also the scouting related stuff, and longer term scouting. There also will be possibilities where it's like these other guys are coming in. So like there's different ways to do it, and there's different ways to incentivize. It's just not out there right now. So yeah. I totally understand the idea of why do we not have the buy pressure right now, but also at the same time, like it is hard to implement a mechanic that incentivizes buy pressure that is good for the game. Like you can incentivize buy pressure by just like, we're going to give free stuff and we're going to give out free shit, but that's not a healthy environment for the game.
Yeah. I think it's one of those issues that you have with a game that follows a sport that has like a significant off season. Like the football off season, meaning the soccer off season is super short. We get, huge tournaments like the World Cup every 4 years, the Euros every 4, and they're staggered. So it's every 2, and that are massive tournaments with the players that are on the platform. So there really is no off season. Correct. So you don't see that huge weight. It is. So back to kind of the conversation that we were having in Discord, like just because you have a mechanic that kind of, I don't know whether I want to use the phrase discourages selling or just encourages holding, but there is a difference between like encouraging people to hold their shares versus like encouraging people to buy new shares. And one is obviously easier than the other. Just like you said, you can give out a bunch of free shit if you say, hey, buy shares and you get whatever. But for the economy of the game, that doesn't really seem to work.
Correct.
And so then you look at okay, what do we do to get people just to hold on to their shares, which I think most people from like the crypto background can just look at this as essentially staking their shares for 6 months. And that's not like a foreign concept to people. Is it exciting? No. But like it's the off season. The off season is not supposed to be as exciting as the regular season. And so, it allows you to look at the market. It's like you were saying, if you think that the market cap is going to be higher in July, August, when the season starts to come, then these prices look really attractive. And if you don't, then like that's fine. Then you don't buy right now. But obviously the off season, and we see this in we see this in So Rare during off seasons, like prices go down, and for the leagues that aren't playing, and there are people who then buy, although with the new model, maybe they don't, but like, you'll buy off-season stuff because that's when it's cheaper. And so for people who have the patience to wait a few months, you get essentially the idea that you get a price benefit when the season starts up, whether that's selling into the new season because it's whatever X more than you paid, or you just have a much lower entry cost than everyone else who's joining at that point. And so I'm almost comforted that you guys focused more on how do we just get people to stay as opposed to let's ensure that everybody is buying in the off season, because none of it feels like it's, I hate to use this word, a sustainable idea to say like, hey, let's get more people buying in the off season. Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, correct. I mean, we've seen it with Sober, right? Like in obvious, even still today, your player towards the end of a season is typically, even for a classic card, less than he will be like a month up before the season starts, right? Because when that season starts, that's when the hype is starting to come through. And if you look at things, what user do you want to end up having bigger ports of players on your game that you want to reward? I would say that typically the players that you would want to get more incentives are the players that are willing to hold through lower time frames into better time frames. Like those are the more appealing users to me of who you want. So I think that there makes a lot of sense of how we did it. I think that the off-season mechanic works well. I think the idea behind it works well. I think that the users that get rewarded from the off-season mechanic benefit. There is still buy pressure. Like we said, if the market cap next NFL season is 10 million and it's currently at 3.87, well, I sure as shit in August, September are going to have been like, oh man, I wish I piled in money in February and just sat there and watched it go up by 3x because everyone's excited for the start of the season.
Yeah.
Like the way the NFL was kind of released was like kind of in not a beta version, but it was released in the middle of the season. Like a lot of people didn't come in because it was just the middle of the season where it's like the season had like 10 weeks left or 11 weeks left by the time we launched, plus playoffs. Or I think it was even less. I think we had 12 total weeks. So we had 8 weeks left of the regular season and then the playoffs. So there wasn't much time left in the season once we launched. So I think a lot of people were obviously hesitant from that perspective. So I do understand what people are saying. And like I said, we do have ideas that are coming out that will sort of look at that and sort of come up with ideas to incentivize people to buy back in. But also like a big buy sort of mechanic is, are these the lowest prices? And that's something people have to consider. Because if you don't think these are the lowest prices, like would you really have came in if the market cap was, let's say, 3 million right now and people were buying in and trying to get off-season TP? I don't know. You probably would have already done it before the Super Bowl anyways.
Yeah. I'm not even sure it's worth thinking like, is this the lowest it can get?
Yeah.
Like if you think it's lower than what it'll be in July, I feel like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Now, if there is something that you see and you're like, oh no, it's definitely going to go lower, then that's your conviction play. Then wait. I'm not like trying to tell people to buy in now, but it's like trying to time the bottom is usually more detrimental than just buying when you think it's low enough to buy.
Correct. And that's my view. Like if we view this as a long-term project, and which we are, and we view it as going to be successful in coming months, then this is likely close to the bottom that you'll get. Maybe it goes down a little bit more, but I mean, in theory, like, are you really that upset if you bought in at a 4 million market cap versus a 3 million market cap if it goes to 12 million?
Right.
Like I'll tell you when you would be pissed is if you didn't buy in at either and you're just sitting there waiting for the bottom and then it just doesn't happen. Or you sit there and you wait till it gets to like 8 million, then you buy in because you're like, oh shit, it just keeps going up. So it's one of those things. I think that there are definite views to be had on whether or not you think like longer term it goes up. And I mean, I personally do. So for that reason, like I'm looking to just accumulate in this off season. I'm open to, if things drop off a little bit, then so be it. And I'll accumulate more. No big deal.
This is where we should say this. None of this is financial advice.
Yes. No financial advice is ever given by me. I actually am very like, I very much believe in that in general. I want people to make their own decisions with anything, especially in the crypto space, right? Like I can say like, I like something or I want to be doing something, but I never would recommend someone spend significant amounts of money that they can't afford on stuff. It's like, buy whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Do you basically track the market cap more than individual players? Like just in terms of like where we are?
Typically, I mean, I think for me, it's like one of those things like the market cap 3X's, all the players are theoretically going to go up.
Yeah.
Some players might go up 4X, some might go up 2X, but like realistically, I also like, I'm not just hovering in like one player. I have different guys. Like I have a lot of different people that I have good chunks of. So it's one of those things where I'm not super worried. I have enough of the guys that like if they go up, they'll go up. And if the market cap does go up, I'll be fine. And if the market cap goes down, like it'll be bad. Like obviously some players are, I know that the one person who's been selling significantly has like a boatload of Patrick Mahomes shares. Like I have a little bit of Patrick Mahomes, but I don't really believe in him to begin with. So it's one of those things like that's not a player I would feel great being in right now.
Yeah. Were you surprised at people selling after the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it makes much sense personally, but it's also not been people. It's been like one person. So, like, I mean, it just doesn't make much logical sense to me. If you were going to selling before the Super Bowl, I think made way more sense. With the exception of the players that were in the Super Bowl. I think the players that were in the Super Bowl were very clearly bloated because they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if you did want to sell them because you didn't necessarily want to hold them, that I understand. I think like selling like Jonathan Taylor hasn't, why would you wait till after the Super Bowl to sell Jonathan Taylor? Like that one, like guys like that doesn't make much sense to me. Like the 6 players that were in the Super Bowl, I totally understand if you wanted to not be dealing with them because they were probably bloated too much. And if you were uncomfortable with holding them long term, I think that removing them makes sense. But like we talked about, if you do sell them, then all of a sudden, like you don't have the ability to get off-season TP with them anymore.
Right.
So like, do you want to hold them? But yeah, so like, well, like why would Jonathan Taylor sell off 30% after the Super Bowl? I don't really understand that one. But then you get to the point where all of a sudden he sells off that much and now he's like ticking back upwards because people are like, yeah, it's probably the lowest price point I'm ever going to get him at. So I'd rather buy some more of him.
Yeah. I mean, or at least at one point was my highest holding.
I think he was my highest player during the Founders Pack portion.
I think I got like a ton of shares at like 0.01.
Actually, no, I'm pretty sure my like highest owned player was like Garrett Wilson. Not the guy you want to be your highest owned player.
Let me
but no, I mean, looking at the prices, like you have lots of very favorable price on lots of players, just whether or not you believe that things are going to go up. But like, even like just if you look at the market now, even in recent hours, there's small upticks back on some players, Jonathan Taylor being one, Puka Nacua being another. Like they are slowly ticking back upwards a little bit from where they're at, which means that there's probably some people that are like, yeah, this is the lowest that I'm going to get this guy at. So I'm just going to buy a little bit more of him.
I don't know why these.
I was saying, it looks like you're having a little trouble here.
Yeah. We'll be fine.
But yeah, so I mean, there is the natural buy pressure of just, is this the lowest that things are going to be? And then there is the natural, there is a sell pressure mechanic that would make it less incentivizing to sell at this moment. But like, yeah, you see like little upticks from where they were at. So there's clearly some people that think that that's the bottom price point on these players to some extent.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, you clearly have some situations where that'll happen. You have the buyback stuff that will go in. So there's different stuff that that will go with them. I was actually talking to Jimmer yesterday. Something I didn't factor in as much during the off season is that
here comes Jimmer.
Oh yeah, I'll never give Jimmer financial advice. That's like the guy I would never give it to ever because I just know he's going to do whatever. But so typically when players are packed, they go to the off-season rewards, right? The expensive players are the people that everyone is going to keep when they pack stuff. Like you're not probably going to pack Jackson Smith and Jigba and then like choose Garrett Wilson over him. So the guys that I think are the most stable and the guys that are going to get the most off-season TP with are like those lower priced guys, but also at the same time, like these were players that didn't go down as much during like this current sell-off by that one user, because that one user didn't really own those players because they're like lower level players.
I think I keep going back to this because I've seen like so much of the whole, like, you're just going to take the top 3 guys, like, value wise. And then the argument is like, it's only the top guys that are going to get it packed. But like, if you don't get the top guys as your 3 most valuable guys, are you really going to take fewer value of the higher priced guys or no?
It's one of those things that like there's going to be probably correct answers with it, but you can't just get them and then sell them into lower owned guys. So like, for example, if all offseason everyone's just packing Josh Allen and just keeping Josh Allen, and then like DK Metcalf, not a human being, is choosing DK Metcalf, and all of a sudden you're taking DK Metcalf and you're piling in, like, you're snowballing into DK Metcalf, well, all of a sudden you're getting a lot bigger portion of the DK Metcalf offseason TP that might like be a better option than taking someone that's more expensive for that reason. But at the same time, like, you might not. Like, if you just take the most expensive guys, like DK Metcalf, if you go look at the DK Metcalf graph, he hasn't gone down anywhere near the amount that some of the other guys have gone down, because the people that were in DK Metcalf are buying DK Metcalf for the offseason. They're not buying DK Metcalf for the regular season. Like, look at this. DK Metcalf's graph has not changed.
Yeah, this is January 13th where this drop is.
That's when they lost. That's when they got eliminated from the playoffs. So like DK Metcalf is like as straight of a line as you can get, because the users that were doing these dump offs and that have done these sales, they were not in players like DK Metcalf.
Yeah. Where was this one from Jimmer? $75 get you 45,000 shares of Kamara right now.
I was looking at it yesterday because I am tempted to just like become the Kamara Baron, because you can become the Baron on Kamara very easily.
Pretty easily.
Like right now, $500 into Kamara gets you 283,000 shares. And if Kamara, like, if Kamara ever gets a top 5 ever, like in the rest of his career, you're probably like in just amazing shape if you have that many shares of him. And because like there's 2 options. Option 1 is that you get a top 5 and you're like, well, shit, I'm getting a lot of TP in, or his price is probably doubled or tripled in that time because more people have come into him. So either or, you're winning in that situation. So I've been heavily tempted to just like be like, yeah, I'm going to buy $500 worth of Kamara and call it a day.
The market cap is $7,700.
Yeah, like there's just not anything into Kamara because nobody wants Kamara.
Yeah, 530 holders of. Let's see, like
who's the Baron on Kamara right now? Because I guarantee the Baron on Kamara is not that high. Like surely there's not someone that owns this boatloads of Kamara.
Is it possible that nobody owns more than $163 worth of Alvin Kamara?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Because it gets you so many shares. You don't have to own boatloads of him to like have a high like allotment of him.
Like you're like a $200 Baron.
Yeah, 100, yeah. Like you just be the Baron at like $200. Like that, he's the only. Can you check Brian Thomas? I'm curious if I'm the Brian
800,000 active shares.
Yeah, I want to see if I'm the active Brian Thomas Baron, because there's a chance I am. But there's a big difference for me and Brian Thomas and Alvin Kamara. I am not.
I don't know.
I love how HG's in there.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, me too. So I'm not the Brian Thomas Baron, but I'm damn close.
You are really close. You're one trade away from making it.
But so to me, Brian Thomas makes a lot more sense from this platform's perspective than Alvin Kamara. So instead of buying like $500 of Alvin Kamara, I'd probably just buy another $500 of Brian Thomas and push me up to Baron levels. But even like, so, all right. So here's the thing, Brian Thomas.
His market cap is 2x Kamara.
Yeah, but still, like,
I mean, I think it should be.
Yeah, for sure. So here's the thing with Brian Thomas. So can you how many dollars do I have in Brian Thomas?
722.
So I have $722 in Brian Thomas. Now his price was a lot different at this point because he was still in the playoffs. But the first round of the playoffs, he finished 4th. I got 11,000 TP from Brian Thomas. Well,
finishing 4th.
For getting 4th. Like, even if he gets like 3rd, if he gets 3rd, I probably get like 17, 18,000. So it goes to show, like, these cheap guys, man, you do not need much from any of these cheap guys to, like, you just need anything in the top 5. Anything in the top 5, you're like, yes, this is amazing. Because you're going to get so much. Like, at this price point of Brian Thomas, I probably got 20,000. I probably would have got 20,000 TP on Brian Thomas at this point, give or take, maybe like 18,000. Well, that means if I get one top 4, like, all season, it pays off what I have in Brian Thomas. Which is why I bought a lot of the guys on this page. Not all of them, because, like, I think Isaiah Pacheco, like, we talked about him like a couple weeks or a few weeks ago. I was shocked that there was like people below him because I think he's like as bad of a player as we have. Like, I think him and Kamara are like the 2 like worst players we have. And then maybe like Kelsey. I have no interest in Kelsey. I have no idea how Kelsey's as expensive as he is. But that's personal preference and concern that he retires any second.
Would you buy in if he announced he was coming back?
If he announced he was coming back, it makes it a lot more of appealing of a player. I still wouldn't buy in at his current price. Like, his current price, I still have no interest in. Like, he should. I don't really know how he's not on this last page, because to me, he's basically on the last page. If he were announced he was coming back, I think it's a lot more interesting. But yeah, I mean, like, if you have Alvin Kamara and he gets 5th, like just 5th ever, you probably pay off your entire Alvin Kamara like port on one like 5th place. And he was actually close. I think he tied for 5th when he was injured at the end of the season. He tied for 5th, because I have it marked down.
I would assume that one top 5 finish for him makes everyone be like, oh, he can do it.
Correct. There was only 3 dudes that did not get any TP this year. One of which was Alvin Kamara, one of which was Isaiah Pacheco. I forget who the 3rd was. It was another running back. I can look it up really quick. Let me see. Because that's it. There was only 3 dudes that had
Bucky, wasn't it?
No, I think it's Bucky. And like, Bucky's someone I have a lot of shares of, because I think that there's quite a bit of value in that, because I think he's a young, decent running back that makes sense.
Let's see what Bucky looks like.
Yeah, so like, I have a decent amount of Bucky. I think I have like 100,000 shares. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have a good chunk of Bucky. Like, I have a good chunk of the guys on the last page, because in reality, like, I think they can get top 5. I mean, we literally had 69 of 72 players get a top 5 this year. So for that perspective, like, it doesn't. Everyone's kind of live for it.
Yeah. So, oh, here we go. I was just about to do this. Jules said, just arrived. Did you talk about the football market cap? Seems 15 million is the new standard. Do you have any ideas how things could go for the market cap? How good is it to cash in now? To you, not financial advice. Let's see where the football market cap.
Yeah, it's been pretty stable around 15.
Yeah, this is like 5 days where it's basically not moved.
Yeah, it's been in that range for a bit. I mean, here's the thing: to double from 3.8 doesn't have to go to 14, right? It's got to go to 7.5. So like, and we were in the 6s for a good chunk of the season, if I remember correctly. Like, just a month ago, less than a month ago, we were at 6.6. So if it goes back to 6.6 and you bought in right now, like, you're loving it, right?
Do you think some of this money is coming here to football? Like, out of NFL and into football?
It's possible. We've seen it happen before. So, like, it's definitely in play that money moves around. Like, I think that new money will likely come in for NFL at the start of the season, but also I do think that some soccer money will come in. Like soccer money will move over to NFL as the season gets closer as well. Like I think that's a logical view.
I don't see a logical reason why we would see a bump in NFL in the next 6 months.
Oh yeah, the next like depending on the mechanics we put in place over the course of the offseason, could impact it to some extent.
Do you think they treat the Champions League final like the Super Bowl?
I think the Champions League final will be handled similarly to the Super Bowl. The issue with the Champions League final is that there are teams that could play that have no players on the platform.
Like realistically, though?
I mean, not realistically. Let me go look at the Champions League standings. I mean, probably not realistically.
The favorites to win it.
I mean, probably not realistically, but I mean, they're Sporting got a top 7 or top 8 spot. I'm not saying that they're super likely, but I mean, you have Sporting. Newcastle doesn't have very many players on the platform. Atalanta doesn't have very many, or doesn't have anyone on the platform, I don't think. No, realistically speaking, yeah, the teams are gonna have guys in the final. Like if you look at it realistically, but you can't say for certain. There's probably 8 to 10 teams.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Here we go. Can I find like? Yeah, so like these are just the futures to win. Like we got plenty of these guys. Arsenal, Bayern, Barca, PSG, like you're muted.
Yeah, most likely you're going to have significant amounts, but like I mean, there are teams as you get a little further down, there are teams that there are not loads of players on, or there's not a load or none. And that would make it obviously more tricky. But yeah, obviously speaking, like if Arsenal and Bayern are in the Champions League final, I'm actually shocked Bayern is second favorite, by the way. But if they are in the finals, like you're going to have the players from these teams. So I do think that the Champions League final will be handled similarly to how the NFL final was done.
Yeah. That'll be fun. Yeah, I guess it's just a lot of like, do we see people ripping packs in NFL, selling, and then moving it over to Football.Fun?
I don't think so. I don't really think people will be packing players and moving them over. Some will, though. I guess it depends.
Like that's the easiest way to fund yourself for the World Cup or Champions League final World Cup.
But the more you do that, or if you do that, you will dilute yourself for the rest of the NFL offseason. Because other people
everyone does it though.
Well, everyone, yeah, but then if everyone does it, then you still are diluting yourself, because if everyone does it, you would be getting more of the prize pool if you just stack.
That's like saying you lost when you didn't win something.
Yeah, I mean, yes. But if you sell and others don't, like you're diluting yourself. And if you don't sell, like you will get more of the pool week in, week out because others have moved over. So realistically,
the opposite of dilute is.
Well, I don't know, but
that's what you're doing. Like you're and assuming that like everyone does it is kind of absurd also. But like I think there's an easier similar. Sorry, I was looking for the opposite of dilute. Yeah. Concentrate. Yeah, I guess that is technically it. Yeah, like if you hold on to your shares that you win in NFL and other people are selling, yes, you get a bigger concentration of the shares that are left of that player.
Correct.
But if you just follow what everyone else does, you just kind of end up even on the football side, on the NFL side, and then moving it over to like that's my only. It's not a fear of the NFL offseason, but like it's very easy to just win your offseason TP, or get your offseason TP, get your packs, sell your shares, buy football players.
Yeah, but then you're getting less and less TP every week in the NFL side.
Yeah, assuming that enough people don't do the same thing that you do.
But it doesn't matter because the idea with the off-season TP is it's based on everyone holding like their players. So if people are selling, you will get slightly more percentage of the pool each week.
Yeah.
Like if you are stacking and others aren't, you get more of the pool each week.
The further you
and if you sell and others don't, you get less of the pool each week based on that. Like the idea is that the way that it works in theory is that everyone would keep all their players for the whole off season. So like if everybody kept all of their players all off season, it's just neutral.
Yeah.
But if you're selling, you will get less. If others are selling, you will get more based on like what the average would be in theory. But it also depends on like kind of your pack luck and like what we said, where do people place their funds as they go? Like are people just taking Josh Allen every time they pack him? Because if that's the case, Josh Allen's TP value in the offseason will go down. Whereas like all of a sudden you get DK Metcalf and you select DK Metcalf to keep through packs, all of a sudden your portion of the DK Metcalf pool goes up significantly, and maybe nobody else is doing that because why would they? And then all of a sudden you're getting a much higher share. So it's not going to be perfect in any way in which you do it, because it's kind of going to be dependent on packs and who you keep and who others keep, whether or not it goes up, whether or not it goes down in terms of things. But if you do sell shares you win and move them over to soccer, you will get less TP each week as you go through the season. So your like off-season TP will slowly go down. Now you'll win some in soccer, but probably less than what you would win in the NFL market.
What's the distribution of the off-season TP? Is it the same every game week?
Same every game week. So hypothetically, if Josh Allen, it's done over 22 game weeks. So I'm just going to give a random number that doesn't matter. So the quarterbacks get 24% of the prize pool. And if Josh Allen gets 20% of the quarterback portion of the prize pool, that number would be divided by 22, and he would get that each week for 22 weeks. So let's say that number's $1 million, and then all of a sudden Josh Allen would get $1 million TP every single week. But as the shares of Josh Allen move around, you will have less or more portion of that 1 million each and every game week.
Right.
And then that happens for all 72 players. Well, 69 players, because as we said, 3 players don't get any TP.
Yep. What do you think happens to Kelsey if he announces he's retiring?
I guess he goes to 0.
But like the off-season TP, I guess
there would probably be some merit to holding him if
right?
he retired, for sure. Because if he retired, let me see how much he got off season, because he at least had a good chunk. It wasn't 0 for sure. Kelsey's off season TP
active shares is nuts.
Kelsey's off season, he got 14% of the tight end pool. So he gets 4.17% of the tight end pool every week, which, like, if he retired and everybody sold and you were the only one that didn't sell, probably would be better than having sold, I would think.
Yeah, that's what.
Because he would be by far the best offseason generator of TP. Like, how many active shares of him are there?
It was a ton. 2.4 million.
Well, like, let's say
2.8.
Let's say you have 100,000 and everyone sells him except for you, and he goes down to 100,000 active shares, and you're the only one with him. You would probably be in a way better position holding him than selling him in that scenario, which is actually kind of fun and interesting, right?
That's sort of
because you're like, oh shit, like, do I sell or do I not sell? It's kind of the same thing with the playoffs, where you had to sort of decide, do I hold the players or sell the players if they win or lose? And it was a very interesting market dynamic. But I think it's a very interesting market dynamic. That's why, but I just want no part of it. Like, I'm out. But yeah, I think there is probably a legit scenario where there for sure is. But there's a legit scenario where if Kelsey announced he's retiring this second, that if you do not make the first waves of sales, or maybe the second waves of sales, holding him makes way more sense than selling him. Even though he's at 0 after it, but the off-season TP generated is worth more of it.
Yeah, I just want to see the chart, not the price chart, but the off-season TP chart of what based on active shares, because that would be.
And realistically, everyone can do the off-season TP math themselves. I know that there's the after season site. I haven't looked into it fully, but like you can do the calculations on stuff. I think there was like 54-ish million in TP that's given out. So like you can go and be like, all right, 54 million. This percent is divided by, or quarterback gets 18% or 24% of the 854 million. So they get whatever that number is. And then Josh Allen gets 15% of that number, and that number is this. And all of a sudden, then you divide it by 22, and you have an idea of how you can come up with the answers very easily to like what you're going to get.
Yep. Looking for food. There's no recent news about NBA joining, but we know it's going to come at some point. I think it was originally supposed to come in January, and I feel like at this point, there's no reason to launch it before next season.
Let's just say that it's at least it's on the minds of people.
Well, we know it's on the roadmap.
Yes.
It sounded like NBA and esports were next.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny anything, but it's in the minds of the people that would be deciding these things. And the NBA is also not as simple of a entry as the two sports that I would say are on currently. So the NBA needs some Jokic tweaking probably. Or just like Jokic, like maybe it doesn't. Like the answer to the question might also just be like Jokic is 5x the price of every platform.
You just let the market figure out what Jokic is worth.
Correct.
Yeah, I think like the NBA is a when, not an if.
Correct. The NBA is more of the NBA is probably. I'm not going to say it's definitively next, but I would guess the NBA would likely be the next thing that would come out.
Yeah, it felt like I feel like I've seen it in multiple places that from the team, not so much just us.
Yeah, I cannot confirm or deny that if I am looking at NBA stuff and trying to come up with proper game designs. I do think that it is more tricky and intricate than NFL. I thought NFL was pretty simple. I thought that there's not players that would dominate the NFL positionally like what Jokic would do at the NBA.
Yeah. I think Jimmer does make this point though, that like from a gameplay perspective, Jokic may not like you could get around it, but packs, like if you pack Jokic, it's just so much better.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, if someone's packed, like even in soccer, you see it, like realistically, soccer's not as bad as when obviously like some of the guys were a bit more expensive, but like when you have Yamal and he is 3x 135 of the 139 players, it really, because what happens is the weight of the packs, you have to pack Yamal or your pack is likely going to struggle more to some extent. NFL has been a bit better because NFL, everyone's a lot more stable and compacted into groups. Like obviously you have some real shitters, but for the most part, it's a lot more compacted. Whereas soccer, like even soccer packs, like it's pretty difficult to get like a good soccer pack if you don't get like a top 10 player in your pack.
I think Mbappe is in the same realm as Yamal. Like if you pack one of them, your pack is obviously much higher.
If you pack Yamal or Mbappe, your pack cannot be bad. And then if you pack, or your pack is good if you pack Yamal or Mbappe, like it's just good. And then if you get like Olise, Kane, Holland, Bruno, Pedri, etc., like your pack probably is at least solid regardless. But what happens is your packs are really poor if you get like no first page guys in soccer, your pack's just going to be not good. Whereas it goes in the NBA, like if Jokic is literally 5x the price of everyone, which he probably would be warranted being that, then you get into the situation of like, if you do not pack him, your pack is going to not be good. There's like no way for your pack to be that bad. Well, I think there would be like no way for your pack to really be good if you don't pack Jokic, because if he's that significantly higher than like the second place guy or second price guy.
Yeah, I'm just not sure he gets to that price if everybody, like, it sounds weird. Like if everybody owns him, then like his price can't go that high. But at some point there's a price where it just doesn't make sense.
Correct. But how high is that price? That price might be 5x, because like I said, I think I got to look further into the details. So I don't want to give any like views on it till I do, but like at least my original thought process is that we'll give the example. We'll use Trey McBride because I think that's like the closest from the football perspective, and we're talking football. It's not even like there's just no NFL player that rack in the TP at their position like it. Jokic would just absolutely dominate his position. Like he would just get first like 75-80% of the time, because his average is other people's ceiling.
Yeah.
So if he has an above average game, no one can touch him. And if he has an average game, it's still hard for people to beat him.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure it means if you don't pack him, you get a bad pack. It's more just like if you get him, it's an absolute jackpot.
Correct. Which maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it's just like a thing where you're like, oh, I hope to God I pack Jokic. And if you do pack Jokic, like it's lit. And if you don't pack Jokic, damn.
Right. You don't want people to be disappointed when they don't pack one guy.
Correct. Because like I guess for like soccer and stuff, I mean NFL too, like there's like 10 or 15 guys. If I pack one or two of them, I'm like, all right, cool. Like obviously if I pack them all, I'm a lot happier than if I pack Dembele. But like if I pack like Dembele and Declan Rice, I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's a good pack. Like, I'm like, ah, nice. That was solid. But like NBA, it's like I did not pack Jokic. Damn, that sucked.
Yeah, that's all you have to avoid. Yeah. Professional gambler said 2.8 million shares of Kelsey is $1,600.
If there was like,
can that be right?
Well, yeah, but I'm 2 points. I'm assuming that means there's only his TP in the offseason is only worth 1.6K. Is that the idea?
Oh, that's what it was. 2.8 million. He can't get.
I have no idea. If that's the case, like, yeah, there's still going to be a point at which like your 100,000 shares is worth. Because I mean, we looked at it with Kamara, right?
Well, again, you don't know what the TP is worth. Like, you could take the average, but like,
yeah, you could take an
average. It all depends on who you're packing.
Like Kamara, 100,000 shares of Kamara at this current price, which is obviously low, is going to be like what, 75, $80 or whatever. So 80 or it'd be 160. So like, would $160 of Kelsey be worth 1.6K? Yeah, I would do that. So at some point when people are selling, like the value in holding him would be better than the value in selling him.
Yeah. 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 I just know I'm not touching Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I have no interest in him. I just don't want to play that game.
Nope. No, thank you. I'll buy Kamara way before I buy Kelce.
I would probably do the same.
Of course, you almost bought Kamara 20 minutes ago.
I've toyed with Kamara quite a few times.
Is he definitely staying in New Orleans?
I have no idea. I haven't followed that yet as of yet. So.
Okay.
Yep.
You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. I think that's all we got for today. I'm guessing we start talking more football, meaning soccer, starting next week.
Yeah, makes some sense. Get into the European football, you know.
There we go. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you are watching on YouTube, you can always follow on Twitter as well. We'll be back next week. I have another episode of the Third Half podcast, which I do with Palmer, coming later this week as well. So check that out. And I know in Adam's article today, he said Sport.Fun is going to be doing a bunch of content on their own as well. So there's going to be plenty of content to go around for everybody. So we can talk about this game that we all love to play. Thanks everyone for coming. Please make sure you get outside.